I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Well, the Daily Mail is reporting right now that the Seahawks star Richard Sherman says that they broke and cracked Peyton Manning's hand signal code during the Super Bowl so they would be able to predict every play and win. And I think that's good. The Broncos do not deserve any privacy. In fact, it's a sign of criminal activity to have any secrets. And I think it's good that the Patriots spied on other teams and stole their playbook. Remember that? And I think it's good that the Seahawks basically cheated because no one has any privacy. I think everyone should have plastic bags that are see-through, plastic clothing, so that you're not carrying a weapon. You might be a criminal. We're guilty until proven slave. And I think it's good the NSA preemptively spies on everything illegally, because if you don't have anything to hide, why would you want to have any privacy? You need to let people have all your secret knowledge so they can take advantage of you. And, of course, I'm being sarcastic here. I hear this mantra in controlled media, and by a minority of people, because the vast majority are against illegal NSA spying in every poll. It's over 80%. Even with the media trying to sell it, some polls are over 90%. They say, oh, well, I have nothing to hide. I want them to know what I'm doing. I want them to keep me safe. What about criminal elements using your data against you? What about them selling your data? What about criminals getting your data? What about the 40 million credit card numbers from Target? The list goes on and on. Even if you had a good government that had this omnipresent surveillance, you would guarantee bad people would someday get in and use it to unleash hell. But there's an example. I mean, Peyton Manning's an upstanding family man, a Christian, no criminal record, Mr. America. Why should, he have a secret hand signs? I mean, he doesn't need those. Why do you want to keep something secret, Manning? Oh, because the other team kept their play secret too? Because that's basically cheating, and you're not a cheater? It's one thing to study what they do, but it's another thing to get their actual playbook or their actual hand signs. That is cheating. But so what? So you lost, now we learn, because they cheated. That's what it is. It's cheating. You can say it's not cheating, but 20 years ago it was considered cheating. Now it's not even considered cheating. Oh, they give bounties to try to hurt people, to knock them out of the game. Oh, that's just being tough. Well, 20 years ago that was considered cheating. It's a total culture of corruption. And again, if I can hijack a football meme and get people thinking about reality by hijacking this gladiatorial event that certainly does have entertainment value, good. Because this is the same reason people say you should live in a glass house, you shouldn't have any privacy because you might do something bad. Take Tucson, Oklahoma a couple years ago, said we want to inspect all the backyard gardens. There might be marijuana. Oh, I'm growing tomatoes and squash and Brussels sprouts and corn in my backyard. I've grown all that before. Peppers, habanero, jalapeno, you name it. And so I need to have the police come there because my neighbor thinks it's kind of suspicious I'm out there growing things. And I've covered reports, it's on YouTube, years ago where they SWAT teamed a whole neighborhood because they had bloodweeds growing in the drainage ditch behind 6 or 7 houses. And the bloodweed looks a little bit like a marijuana leaf.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.
I've got so much to cover today. But in the last segment, if you just joined us, I began to get into the bombshell news because it ties into the NSA and it ties into the TSA and it ties into our entire culture. The internet, the real revolution against privacy and what that means. The Daily Mail is now reporting that star members of the Seattle Seahawks are now openly and publicly admitting, they're now publicly and openly admitting that they had broken Peyton Manning's codes. And so they knew what he was going to be doing before he did it, and that's how they completely dominated. Now, I'm no sports expert, but I have followed it in my life. I did grow up in Dallas, Texas, and was completely immersed in football until I was about 20. And back in the day, cracking someone's hand signs and then winning a game off of that was considered bad sportsmanlike conduct and basically cheating. Teams have always tried to figure it out, so you try to hide that information. And you try to learn what the team's going to do by how they line up and how they behave. But this shows how they won. And when the Patriots years ago got caught going and spying on practices and spying on the plays and basically getting the playbook, they ended up getting censured and getting in a bunch of trouble and were considered to be cheats. Remember that? Am I the only one that remembers that a few years ago? Was that 5, 6, 7 years ago? Time flies. Guys, look it up. When was the cheating scandal with the Patriots? Who didn't really need to cheat. They were such a great team. I don't even follow football, and I knew that. They would dominate. But this is cheating. It was 2007, so it was 5, 6 years ago. 2007 National Football League videotaping controversy, which was considered to be cheating. Now, regardless of what you think, it should be about the prowess of the teams, how hard they play, their skill, not about knowing what the other guys are doing, tapping their phone lines, or having moles inside their field houses. But that goes on, and it's dirty. People say, well, you got to do whatever you do to win. Well, how about you just drug the other team with sleeping pills then? The point is that, and I wasn't rooting for the Seahawks or the Broncos. Let's get that clear. I societally, as a phenomenon, the police state, the snipers, the checkpoints, the $1,700 nosebleed tickets, $10,000, for good tickets, the tax exemption of the NFL running Scientology ads. And I'm not attacking Scientology. I stay out of it. But the point is they're running Scientology ads but won't let people run a Christian ad or a pro-gun ad that doesn't even show guns about the right of a man to protect his family. Daniel Defense. And they'll kick people off the show, off the Monday Night Football for criticizing Obama on Fox News, Hank Williams Jr., and then put Obama in his place on the Monday Night Football. And it's come out that Obama had given the football players positive tweets about Obamacare to put out before, during, and after the game. I mean, this is immersion in total and complete, absolute, over the chart, off the chart, over-the-top propaganda. Daily Caller reports White House wrote pro-Obama tweets for NFL players to parrot. I mean, this is a rigged system, just like a casino is rigged on record. You may like going in there and playing a rigged game. I don't. There's a lot of real risk-taking I can take in life for telling the truth and standing up to bullies and taking action, and in business. That's where I take my risk, and I enjoy it. Not in rigged scams where I'm a chump walking in the door. So that's why I'm bringing this up here today, is because the fix is in at so many levels. And they now admit, Seahawks star Richard Sherman says they cracked Peyton Manning's hand signal code during the Super Bowl, so they were able to predict every play. Controversial quarterback Richard Sherman said that he and the other defenders were able to crack the code on Manning's hand signals, said they figured out which plays were which with hand motions during the first quarter of the Super Bowl. Sherman equated the game to a mental match, saying they were playing chess, not checkers, on the field on Sunday. Seattle won 43-8 in surprisingly low scoring game for the Broncos. And it shows how corrupt our society is, that they don't even like to use the code words, Blue 42 or whatever anymore, because they know that stuff gets stolen every time before the game. So then they have to meet hours before the game and go over new hand signals so that the other side isn't getting it. And I guess it does take to the level of literal war that this type of stuff's going on. So here's my point. Regardless of whether you think the Seahawks cheated, And they're hiding it in plain view, just admitting they did this. That's how arrogant and corrupt things have gotten. Regardless of what your view is about that, that's why we don't live in glass houses. That's why we have privacy. That's why we have encoding and encryption on our email. That's why you pull your blinds down at night, especially if you live in a high-rise. That's why you lock your doors. It's because you do certain precautions to up your level of security and safety and privacy. And the basic instinct of a bird is to try to roost in a nest behind some leaves or in a hollow of a tree. Why? For security. And if you don't have privacy, you have no security. They've sold this equation of no privacy equals security. That's 2 + 2 = 1,000. It's pure bull. No security equals tyranny. Just like Peyton Manning didn't have his hand sign secret to his team, so they lost the game. And the people got a terrible game that was a shutout, basically, because of cheating, like a Don King fight, where the guys walk out, one guy's been told to fall at the beginning of the third. So he lets the other guy kind of beat him up. The other guy isn't too mean because he knows it's staged. They act like it's a boxing match. And every one of them's totally rigged on record. And so now people don't watch professional boxing because they know it's rigged. And you ruin the sport. Same deal. Just like you ruin a free market by having a rigged economy with insiders that are exempt from the regulations and things they foist upon the people. So that is the lesson of Super Bowl 48 and how it was stolen. Not by skill, not by prowess, not by focus, not by who worked out the hardest. No. It was stolen because they cracked the hand signs. And so the game wasn't about who was the strongest or who could catch the best or who had the best pass routes down, who had the best linebackers, or who had the best offensive or defensive linemen, or who had the best quarterback. It was about who could cheat, basically. Well, if Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan, with their divisions on Wall Street, create super fast trading algorithms where they hook computers directly into the stock market at the Dow Jones Industrial Average and siphon off a couple billion a day, rigging the whole thing, it starts really discrediting the stock market. And then when they take 40-something trillion dollars the last 6 years, 7 years since 2008, and pump it directly into the stock market, and it goes up to 16, 17, 18,000, I mean, of course it's going to do that because you're putting fiat money into the only bubble that's left. And you're like, well, let us live by bubbles, and that's all we've got. Hey, I hear you. I don't want it to pop. The problem is it gives the insiders who are in control of the bubble first dibs on the money, insider trading, insider knowledge on trillions of dollars a month. Meanwhile, they'll arrest Martha Stewart over stuff that clearly wasn't illegal. They'll try to put the owner of the Dallas Mavericks in jail because he criticizes Bush. Obama is now, arresting filmmakers that criticize him with his Justice Department that ran Fast and Furious. This is what it's like to live in a mafia system. And this is why you do not want to have crony capitalist monopoly insider systems because they wreck competition, they wreck markets. General Electric, for 6 years, has gotten hundreds of waivers on their power plants to run dirty, while their competition isn't even allowed to run completely clean. And the response is a doubling of energy prices the last 5.5, 6 years in the United States on average. A doubling in your electricity. And for the select groups that get to turn their plants up full blast and their competition gets mothballed or fined, as Obama said, you can build a coal power plant, but we will bankrupt you. He means he'll bankrupt who isn't part of his gang, General Electric, that the last 4 years, guess how much General Electric paid in the last 4 years in taxes? Zero. 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 And the head of General Electric ran Obama's Economic Council, and he lobbied to raise your taxes if you made over $125,000 a year. A couple $250,000. Because he's a bastard.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Your privacy is key. And if you don't have your privacy, you're not free, you're a slave. Notice government wants more privacy than ever. It's come out that Congress has secret slush funds they live lavish lifestyles with, and that they've exempted themselves from almost every law. Well, that's how this works. That's how the globalists operate. That's what they do. And it's so elementary that they have just trained us to put up with anything and everything in this country. And now, as I told you a decade ago, it's mainstream news. Google, Microsoft, Amazon for that matter, anybody that has hundreds of millions of people visiting them are able to predict the future with almost 100% precision, to the point of Amazon now is testing and successfully doing it for a month, shipping packages, packaging them, preparing them, and even shipping them before you order, off of how your mouse moves over things, off your whole database history. They buy these NSA databases. That's the big dirty secret, is the whole internet has been built and set up and designed and readied to read your mind. And then if they can read your mind and predict what you're going to do, they can then put stimuli in to manipulate what you're going to do, and that has a name. It's called mind control, the end of free will. I mean, is it fun to be in a world where everything's rigged? Is it fun to watch a football game that's 40-something to 8 because they know what the other team's about to do and are able to basically cheat? I would not want to play a card game if I knew what cards my friends were going to be getting. I like to play cards when I have time. Poker, you name it. I'll play Uno with my kids, Go Fish, you name it. War, solitaire. Would you play a game if you knew the outcome? Would you get married if you knew the outcome? Would you have kids if you knew there was a predisposition that down the road you might have some type of physical problem? Of course, they won't tell you that it's also what's in the environment that triggers that. They lie to you and say, oh, don't have kids now because you've got a 30% chance you're going to end up having a child that has some type of genetic disorder. And then now you're in the brave new world of picking and choosing the babies, but not even for a better race, quote, unquote. No. Now social engineering, piggybacking into all the technology, genetic, electronic, digital, the systems of control to end free will, so a bunch of globalist technocrats can literally play God. And so that's why I saw that article this morning about the Seahawks cracking Peyton Manning's code. And you notice they said they did it right at the start of the game because it's considered cheating if you break it before. So they went, oh, we broke it right at the beginning. Yeah, sure you did. And they're saying that because they know it's going to come out later. So I guarantee you their coaches told them, don't be like the Patriots that lied about it. Get out front of it. See, I know how these propaganda operations work because I've watched it so many times. They just hide it in plain view. And they've gotten away with so much. In New York State, they're saying it's the law to take flu shots now on top of another 15 shots or so they claim are law and mandated to be in school. There's no law to take any of those vaccines. There's a waiver But the law just says they'd like you to sign a waiver with the health department. It's the same in all 50 states, that you're not going to get the vaccine and, quote, understand the dangers. Then they use that as a database of people to persecute who are not inoculated. But nevertheless, Rick Perry said 9 years ago, it's the law, you've got to take Gardasil shots, or 8 years ago. There was no law. We pointed that out. The hoax imploded. Mexico's an authoritarian state. They actually passed a law saying all girls have to take it. And it'll come out later. Most of them are sterilized. And the average yuppie will go, there's too many people. But you're sterilized too, dummy. It's done covertly. And if a government can do that covertly and lie and say it's the law, you think there's not other stuff going on? They're lying about flu shots. They're lying about Gardasil shots for human papillomavirus. They're lying. Oh, by the way, they didn't tell you, if you're infected with one of the known 8,000 strains of human papillomavirus, that it actually reduces a whole group of common cancers down to almost nothing, that it's a natural inoculation, warts in the environment to viral cancer. Those studies have been out for 70 years, but it's conclusive now.
The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.